You're good.
I will call the Tuesday, April 1st, 2025 Special Island City Council meeting to order. Janice, could you please call roll?
Councilmember Atlan.
Here.
Councilmember Levine.
Here.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Here.
Vice Mayor Maida
Here.
and Mayor Rhodes.
Here. Will you all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Open this up for public comment on items not on the agenda.
I have a public comment. I'll wait. Is Gary going up there? I'll wait.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I am against censure, it's true, but recently a trip to the Ione City Hall and handed a packet of emails back and forth. It's, if true, I'm not saying they're guilty, but if true, I think that council member Allison LaFane should resign. If this is, I'm not saying she's guilty, but if this is true, we all have our day in the courts, same as Stacy. His is his public life and his private life. But when somebody's elected to serve at the pleasure of the citizens and the council, the city of Ione, if what I'm reading is true here, it's apparent that they have not been acting in the best interests of the citizens of Ione. And I would ask that they immediately resign. Jack Mitchell, you need to face up. You're on this council and quit stepping down. And I don't know if the lawyers are advising you or whatever, but you live on the golf course, so what? You need to take action and represent the city. That's what the citizens elected you for. And that's about it. I'd like to say something negative about Dominic, but I just can't at this time.
I'm sure you will sooner or later.
I am Mitzi Windley, Fairway Drive. I completely agree with Gary. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is on that one email dated October 4th. It says, please don't share these with George or the council. That was the October email. I was under the impression nobody is supposed to be sending emails to somebody that the city is negotiating with unless they had permission from all the council members.
Which they did.
She had permission to send all those emails, Dominic? All of them?
She had permission to speak
This
to
is
Judy
public
Chang.
comment.
She had permission, boy, I'd sure like to see those. The other thing I wanted to say, boy, for you, those of you and Rock who put Lori McGraw through absolute hell for 4 years, and now she's probably going to break the city because she's going to countersue. I wish you would have had better judgment in accusing somebody of embezzlement. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Yes. First council meeting here. Marcia Edick, Castle Oaks homeowner. The first is potential violation of the Brown Act. While it was Stacy who made the complaint against Allison, does anybody recall what Stacy said in that special council meeting just 2 weeks ago? I've got a quote because I listened to the video or the audio. I got a statement here I'm going to read. Myself, Vice Mayor Maida, and Council Member Jack Mitchell had conveyed this meeting tonight to review what we think are important disclosures we had to bring to the public's attention. Now, obviously, the word should be convened, not conveyed, but that's beside the point. How is it that Stacy, Jody, and Jack came to a decision to call such a meeting to censor Allison and get it put on the agenda unless there had been a meeting or a discussion beforehand, which would be a violation of the Brown Act? Second subject, Mr. Lee. He was hired as our city manager in April last year. He was vice president of Portlock International, which is an entity owned by Mr. Hahn. And I was researching history of Castle Oaks Golf Course because I haven't lived here for very long. And I found out that he was vice president of Portlock at the time that the lease was signed between the city and Portlock. And his LinkedIn account notes, quote, completed and opened unfinished golf course, resolved numerous litigation issues with the city, contractors, and engineers. Mr. Lee is involved in the ongoing negotiations with the golf course as we have it presently. And I'm just wondering, how is this not a conflict of interest, regardless of how much time may have passed? I also want to point out something, and I realize I think the budget is on the agenda, but this comment comes to the city manager was hired in April last year. Again, as I mentioned, the salary was $135,000 a year. In January this year, 9 months later, by majority vote, which was Stacy, Jack, and Jody, that $135,000 grew to $180,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the city is in kind of dire financial straits right now.
You got 1 minute.
That equates to a 33% increase. I understand that the budget might be calling for a reduction in police services, so I'm not sure that that was the best decision. Through the grapevine, there was this recent meeting with Jody and George and the members of the senior golf club. The issue is eminent domain came up. How did that come up when it's never been discussed by anyone that is up here on the panel? And in any public meeting. So was that a disclosure from something that occurred in the closed session? And the last comment that I want to make is that unless each and every one of you put your personal feelings aside and you start focusing on doing the jobs that you were either hired or elected to do, you're not acting in the best interests of this city or its tax-paying citizens. We deserve more than we have been getting. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been coming to meetings for almost 30 years, and George Lee is the best city manager we had. And if you just in Amador County, all the city managers make around 150 to 200,000. And new people come here and they don't understand what's been going on for the last 30 years. And George, they weren't here when George Lee come here. We had money in the bank and we were getting about $2 maybe a month. And George Lee, with his finance knowledge, he went to the bank. And this year, and within 12 months, we'll get $500,000. So he covered his salary. If we would have had another city manager, they wouldn't have. So George Lee is actually paid for his salary by going down to the bank and getting interest. So I don't know, don't pick on him because he's doing a good job. I've been here for a long time. Newcomers come here and they need to read the history. And Lori McGraw, that's a different case. Last meeting, Dominic said, Stacy cost us $19,000 in a lawsuit. Well, I'll tell you a little history. Dominic voted for that charge against Lori McGraw. Yeah, you were all in there. You don't, you can say what you want, but he was all for it. And they said she took over 20,000. She offered to pay it back because She couldn't get into, there's a lot, you know, you'd have to really read the whole thing. So they wanted her to plead guilty for embezzlement, so she went to court and she won. And she had the money that she was gonna pay the city, she gave it to the court. So when she won the case, the court gave her the 20,000 back or whatever it was, and the city lost out 20,000 or more. So, you know, you start picking on the three up there, they're doing a good job. And I don't understand, new people come here and they don't know the history. So for God's sakes, don't pick on George Lee, he's doing a good job. He used to work for the golf course, big deal. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
I have public,
Anyone,
we're gonna be.
anyone on Zoom?
Yes, Kathy on Zoom wants to speak.
Yes, my name is Susan Priest and I live in the Castle Oak subdivision. And what I wanted to do today, and we're just passing them out right now, but I wanted to go over the financial statements as of December 31 that I received by public record request from the city. And I'll wait till everybody gets them. And I have some for council.
It's gonna be a long night.
Yeah, for push.
Hmm?
Push,
Closed session
session back.
to the end. Yep.
I'm not gonna be able to answer.
Not gonna make Castle Oaks people happy. That's not gonna make Castle Oaks people happy. Or we could do Castle Oaks and push the other one to the end. This should be at the next meeting. Should be at the next.
Gave all mine away. Okay, so I'd like to speak to the accounting records, the lack of annual audits and the ramifications to city operations. When the accounting and record keeping is inadequate, and there have been no audits in recent years, the city gets in a position they are in now. We're unable to determine how much unrestricted funding is available for any person, for any purpose, like the Castle Oaks Golf Course. The inability to build accurate budgets and provide accurate accounting records. I have the financial reports as of 12/31/24. These have been passed out to you folks. The report I passed out is the general fund of the city of Ione. The report shows assets, liabilities, and fund equities of the general fund. I chose the general fund because this right here is all the records for all the funds for that same time period. And the general fund is where most of the business is conducted for a city or a government. So what I would like to point out on the first page of the document is everything that's highlighted in pink on this document is opposite of what the expected balance would be. In other words, it should be in a different place. The assets that are negative up here, they should be down in liabilities. The liabilities that are negative down here, they should be up in assets. That is a lot. That represents 38.5% of all the balances on the balance sheet. This is probably one of the reasons the audits are behind. City staff has to explain why this is and provide documentation to the auditor. They also have to provide detail of account balances, things like bank reconciliations, detailed lists of what makes up these accounts, copies of contracts, loan documents, and the list goes on and on. Let's just look at a few of the items that are on this financial statement.
You got 30 seconds, just so you know.
Okay. Let's just look at one of them then. Taxes and withholding due. That really is a receivable of $97,358. Who owes us that? The Internal Revenue Service? You know, the state of California? Other funds? I don't have the answers for any of these or any of the other questions, but I'm sure that the questions that I have on here are the same questions that the auditor have. And the auditor is right in asking these questions, and it makes it impossible for the city to do business and make wise financial decisions when the accounting records are in this state of disarray. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Jeez.
I'd like to mention there was two people on the committee for finance for quite a while. And it seems like the audits they did have, none of them were certified by Larry Beam, none of them. And I just wanted to comment on that. That's just, I mean, these people were on the, it was Rat and Dominic were on the finance committee for a long time. Just like you're on the sewer committee, and there's no Title 22 yet. And I would imagine that is probably up around over 450, maybe $500,000 now. And they got a Title 22. Thank you.
You said we had
I
someone
have Kathy on Zoom.
on Zoom. Okay.
And I'm next.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good evening, council and mayor. Thank you for having me. I just wanted to, first off, say in one word, I'm disappointed. I need to clarify some public communication, some misleading correspondence and false statements that have been made on our company, including defamation of character. This type of behavior needs to stop. It's not productive. It's wasting people's time. In addition, there was a sewer call out that Justin, my employee, responded to. Our SOP is to document any call out in our call out logbook and then inform the city of what transpired, which is what Justin did. During the course of this past year, we have reduced our price, thus saving the city $120,000 a year. We inherited 3 systems that were aged infrastructure, missing equipment, and out of compliance. We have been in the process of obtaining compliance through various projects, which you all know. We have spent numerous hours researching and implementing these tasks to save the city from any penalties and fines, which could be as high as $15,000 a day with reduced expenses. Like any other contract, we bid on the job and provide a lump sum, just like other vendors provide. For instance, I had a lawn guy come out to give me a bid on a new lawn. He put materials, supplies, labor, and doesn't list nuts and bolts, PVC, glue, piping, any of that. It's a lump sum. And we did provide all the information for that job and gave the lump sum. We listed it down to nuts and bolts, just like other vendors do. And I know other vendors supply lump bids to the city as well. This is a normal process. So we also put together a CIP plan that will save the city over $2 million, as well as grant funding for $15 million. Our monthly reports detail the work that has been completed for your review. I also want to address the letter that was sent to the city December 11th, 2024, stating the city's lack of urgency in addressing its ongoing violations resulting from its ownership and operation of the wastewater treatment plant is concerning. Moreover, it has brought to my attention the city staff recently made inconsistent statements to regional board during compliance assistant meetings and to city council members during the public city council and our wastewater committee meetings. It is imperative that the city clearly understand the breadth of non-compliance at both facilities and the type of formal enforcement that can result from that non-compliance. The regional board is extremely happy and they're pleased with our proactive approach, not reactive, to our operations and maintenance, and the due diligence to comply with their recommendations to return to compliance, which is exactly what we're working diligently to do. Otherwise, the plant will be shut down. Our main goal, past, present, and future, is to return the facilities back to compliance so we have the potential to discharge the golf course year-round. All the projects we have completed to date and will complete attains this goal. We are very efficient, reliable, knowledgeable in our operations, and we want to stay that way. We consider the city as a partner and strive to assist any way we can to reduce costs and maintain permit compliance. We appreciate the cooperation of the city council during this multi-year improvement project, but we can't take any more of this false statements, misleading correspondence, communication, defamation of character, borderline harassment. We can't take it anymore. It's not productive and it's not useful. So any comments?
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Any other public?
Yeah, I got a public comment. Just to kind of go in a little more on what Kathy had said. When Waterstone took over, we inherited compliance issues that required plant upgrades. One of our first projects we took on had a $283,000 bid pending approval. After reviewing it, we realized I could source the material and complete most of the work myself, bringing the final cost down to $179,000, saving the city $104,000 in our first couple months. Once the project was completed, it was inspected and approved by George Lee and an independent engineering firm. The city released the final payments, and we have supporting documents here on what I'm talking about tonight. It's black and white for you all. If you want to come up to me later, I don't have time to do it right now because I'm on public comment. Another critical project was a flow meter. Last summer, I requested a bid and to get installed on a 6-inch pipe on a little propel meter. The bid came back at $15,600. Instead, we sourced the materials ourselves and completed the project under $11,000. Then, when our 14-inch pipe's flow meter failed, I took the same approach. Considering the smaller 6-inch project was quoted at $16,000, we expected a much higher bid. Instead, we installed a 14-inch mag meter, a new readout panel, and pulled new cables for just $48,000. Where's Andy at? Andy, didn't you see me on a backhoe out there lifting that pipe out of the ground? Yes, sir. Sand filter, cutting costs on a sand filter project. We were quoted $1.6 million for a full restoration, a complete upgrade, and $1.1 million on a restoration. Last year, our sand filters completely fell apart due to poor maintenance over the years. We received bids, like I said, for 1.1 and 1.6 for full upgrades. Once again, instead of accepting those numbers, we took the initiative to source the parts ourselves and dedicate time to doing portions of the work in-house, in which we are currently doing, that's why I got here late. I'm over there pumping a bunch of water out. Because of this effort, we are now completing the project for under $600,000, $1 million in savings. Now, tonight I'm here seeking approval on other things, and one of those issues is our computer system there, SCADA. The last item on the agenda tonight for me. Gary Thomas, where's Gary Thomas? We made a bet. You owe me a keg of beer. I told you I'd cut the cost down on the project when it was quoted to us at $1.5 million last year, and you've seen those presentations. Everyone has those packets. We're achieving now 40% completion on that SCADA upgrade for $191,000. That is a tiny fraction of that cost. So yes, we spent $1,018,000 as of, it will be June when you guys probably release the last payment to us this past year on necessary upgrades and critical repairs. But if you recall, everything I've been coming in here and saying and asking for in the last year, we've now completed 90% of those items. And we did it at a cost of $1.7 million less than the original estimates. Now, instead of focusing on fixing past mistakes, we can shift toward long-term vision plant expansion, infrastructure rebuilding, and securing grant funding to build the future of that plant. One more thing I got to say. Tonight, I have 4 important matters to discuss regarding the town's wastewater treatment facility. Fortunately, this Tuesday's meeting did not coincide with my son's first birthday, which was the reason I had to leave when council broke for closed session last week. Before we move forward, I want to address the email that was included in last week's packet. That email was written entirely by me on my own accord. I was not coerced into writing anything in any way. I also want to make it clear that I'm not here to debate Council Members LaFane's response to that email. I respect her interpretation of that evening, and as far as I'm concerned, the city has my email on record, and that is where I'm going to leave the matter. My role here is to provide a service to you all, and all that progress that has been made in the past year, I want to focus solely on that and continue forward. Let me know if you guys want to see the quotes and the bids and how much money we're saving. I'll be back up here in like 20 minutes.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
I have a public comment.
You can only go once, Missy.
And I'll try to make it quick.
Yeah.
I have repeatedly voiced, sorry, Josh, my protest against this new censure policy as it was implemented using false statements by our city attorney. For reference, you can look at the February 18th staff report where it says, City Council meeting of February 4th, Mayor Rhodes requested an agenda item for censure of Allison LaFane. Nowhere on that video does it say that. You can watch it yourself. What Mayor Rhodes did say was he wanted to possibly censure a council member. He made no mention of my name or drafting a new policy. Also on February 4th, a presentation was orchestrated to bring the wastewater operator Justin Granados to the speaker to speak on the sewer matter at 415 Shakely. Instead, the first reference was to potential allegations of harassment. This presentation was not on the agenda, so it was a knowing and willful violation of the Brown Act, using the homeowner's sewer as an excuse to bring light to claims of harassment. The staff report of February 18th reads the same. It goes on to say that there was no policy in effect, but recently there was a procedure used against Mayor Rhodes. So let's move on to the March 18th staff report. Again, it references February 4th, but this time it says the item was first discussed at council. No discussion took place. Council directed legal counsel to bring back a policy. No direction was given. But here's my biggest concern with this resolution. The city attorney applied what is called a reach back or retroactive action. Nowhere in the resolution or discussion by this council was that discussed. Not only did this policy start draining taxpayer dollars, it collides head-on with U.S. Supreme Court decisions and due process afforded under the California Constitution, which mandates that all administrative processes be conducted by a neutral and unbiased decision makers who are not personally embroiled in leading the attack. Procedural due process requires actual fairness, and the appearance of unfairness alone is sufficient to invalidate any administrative hearing. The 10-day notice that you put in won't fly because apparently the U.S. Supreme Court saw that coming as well.
Councilmember,
And
I'm glad to receive the comments, but nowhere on the agenda is this item.
No, this is public comment.
Well, I
Also,
understand, but
it states
you're
that
not a member.
state-
You're not a member of the public for this item.
State agencies cannot create a reach back policy.
I would only warn the
Not a
council
member
that
of the
this
public.
isn't on the agenda and
Well,
it
The
needs
city
to wrap
clerk
up
was allowed to give public comment
today when
She did not.
in past.
during non-agenda items for, I'm just, right now we have council member comments on things that aren't on the agenda. I would,
This is public comment.
for,
Not
for
public.
members of the public for items not on the agenda. You can continue. It's a risk to everyone that if your council members are speaking on things that aren't on the agenda, and this is not on the agenda. Or save it for,
Our last city attorney told me that.
or save it for the hearing where, save it for the actual item on the agenda.
Of, no, it's pointing out that you've done some things wrong.
We're going to close public comment.
You got 2
Okay.
minutes.
That,
2 minutes.
2 minutes what?
Help the regular meeting.
I have a public comment.
Oh, God.
No, you don't. So we've got 2 minutes.
So I can't respond to what your father said. Okay.
I recall you, both, the three of you making statements.
You all make public, this is the problem, that you just do whatever you want. And then when someone else tries to speak,
Okay,
you shut
Mr.
them down.
Public Talk.
I have a quick public comment. It'll take 2 seconds. But I'll wait.
No, you won't. Talk.
First of all, I just want to say that what Larry said, I will address at the, when we get to the budget. But Larry says that 2 people were on the finance committee for years and years and years. It was 1 year, last year, okay? But I'll get to more of that when we come to it. And then what Andy says about Lori McGraw is I had nothing to do with the criminal case, but we will be seeing soon the civil case. And then you could ask me about the civil case when the time comes, but the nothing to do with the criminal case. That's all I have to say.
I
let me
have to
speak.
make one comment. My comment is we're supposed to listen to public comment and we're not supposed to have a comment. And that's what we're supposed to do. So I think the members of us up there should not say anything while other people are speaking. We can argue with them later at a different time. It is the citizens' time to speak without being interrupted.
Okay, I'll save it for council.
Okay, we'll
comments.
close. All right, so we are going to go into closed session on 2 items. We're going to make it quick. We'll come back and then we'll start and we'll report out and then we'll start the regular meeting. So we're going to closed session right now. I will tell them, we got to change the plans. So you guys don't have to sit here forever.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are going to take a recess from closed session. Now we are going to open the regular meeting.
We're gonna we need a motion to adjourn the special meeting closed session to the end of the regular meeting.
Can I get a motion to do that?
Yeah, but they're here to hear on Castle Oaks.
Yeah, it's be up for the council to discuss if you want to go into closed session right now and come back or adjourn it to the end.
How many of you here to hear about Castle Oaks?
A lot.
I say we go to closed session for
Yeah.
Castle Oaks.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. On the closed session.
I am not
writing the ads will just be that.
Well, I still lost my email.
But you might
Come on.
I didn't check the gauge. I'll check it tomorrow, but it came down heavy.
Ready? All right, we're back from closed session. We've completed one item. We're going to keep the other item open for after the meeting. So legal counsel, would you like to report out, please?
It is similar to information shared in past council meetings. If the golf course does shut down and there's a breach of the lease, the city is prepared to exercise its rights under the lease. It's our position that the lessee is obligated to run the golf course. Shutting it down early would be a breach of the lease. The council has remained steadfast and united this whole time. They don't want any disruption in operations, but it takes two to negotiate together. And so if the golf course shuts down, the city is prepared to exercise all its rights under the lease. That's all I have. If the council, if I might share a comment on arbitration.
Sure.
The council has also expressed full willingness to try to go into mediation or arbitration with this lessee to try to sort out any disagreements. That has not occurred yet.
Okay, thank you. With that said, we'll pause the special meeting. Couple minutes.
Okay, close the special meeting.
No, we're not going to close it because we got one more agenda item at the end. So we're just going to pause this meeting. So pause it. Then we're going to pause it on your end. We'll close it on our end. We'll adjourn it after the other meeting.
Okay, we can't pause this meeting. We have to close this meeting out so I can start the.
Okay, I'll close the special meeting.
Adjourn.
Make a motion to close the special meeting. Adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn the special meeting.
I'll second. I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.